Welcome back, folks. I'm your host, Tino. It's getting scary out here. Scary for you, scary for me, real scary in Minnesota, but also scary for them. And I'll explain more as we go. This week, we've had a second immigration-related shooting in Minnesota. News still developing there. The White House official claiming ICE agents basically have full immunity. Nothing to panic about. And the President of the United States pausing mid-conversation to stare out the door at an imaginary ballroom. Outstanding. And somehow, none of these things are even the craziest shit that's happening right now. But here's the thing. They're scared. Their own voter base is pissed, and these escalations are a symptom of that fear. And goodness, it is only Thursday. This is This Week So Far. In our first segment, we're going to start with Minnesota, where all the news is happening right now. If you've been paying attention, you already know there was the killing of Renee Nicole Good. This happened by an ICE agent. That alone should have been a national reckoning. Somehow it's just part of the news cycle. And now, second shooting. I'm recording this the morning of January 15th. It's just now being reported. My information is limited. Not the point. The point is, not months later, not years later, days later, another tragic incident. Which means we're not talking about isolated things here. We're talking about a pattern forming in real time, okay? So I want to be super clear. When the officials say this was a tragic exception, but the exceptions keep stacking up like sinister pancakes, eventually you have to admit that you're describing the rule. Here's the thing about rare events. If they keep happening, they're not rare. That's just like part of the policy. So what's happening in Minnesota is a collision of a couple of different things. Federal enforcement power, local resistance, go team, militarized policing culture, not a fan of that, and communities are being treated as expendable. And when you mix all that together, you definitely don't get safety, okay? You get volatility. Volatility lands on the people with the least protection, not the folks writing the memos, not the people doing the press, not the people saying trust the process, okay? The people living there. People like you, people like me, people like us, Americans. And speaking of things that should have broken everyone's brain, let's talk a little bit about Mr. Stephen Craphead Miller. Decided to go on stage, the television is his stage apparently, and said that ICE agents essentially have full immunity while carrying out their duties. Let me slow that down a little bit. Full immunity. That's not a small claim, okay? That's not like a casual turn of phrase. That's not something you toss out like, oh, by the way, they're exempt from consequences. What does it even mean? Like, who defines line of duty? Who defines when the force is justified? Who investigates the misconduct? No one? Because here's the thing. If the answer is the same system that benefits from never finding fault, it's just not law enforcement. It's a monarchy. You remember those? Last time I checked, Americans don't like kings. And a key piece of this, a key piece of it all, the most important piece, is the fear. If you're afraid, I don't blame you. Okay, I'm afraid too. The reason Steve Malarkey has to be on the news and project this power is because he knows his goose is cooked if they can't keep it under control. They have to send in the ICE Gestapo to blue states. We're seeing it in many different blue states now, cropping up in places like Connecticut, Hartford, greater Hartford area just had some stuff. Here's the thing. The second we all wake up from our stupor and go, wait a minute, we don't have to take this, they're all going to be part of Nuremberg 2.0. In some unfortunate recent press, Jesse Waters, the guy who looks like a can of Crisco in a suit, he recently praised Miller, saying, he's just the best. I have to ask, the best at what? The best at xenophobia? No. The best at scaring women and children. The best at living out high school revenge tour dreams? And then you have Fox News trying to paint this fool out as some sort of sex symbol? Like, what the actual fuck? Even the straightest of straight guys looks at Stephen Miller and can tell at his best, on the most perfect day, he's at like a 4 out of 10. On his most spectacular of spectacular days, he looks like Squidward's dick. This guy. Tell me you don't see it, right? That face could just totally slip out from under Squidward's tentacles. And Squidward doesn't wear pants, so unfortunately I can't say imagine the face coming out of his zipper. Which also makes me wonder, because SpongeBob and Patrick both have pants. Are pants like garments? Anyway, it's no wonder that Waters loves Miller. It didn't take a lot of exploring for me to find out some of the nonsense that Jesse has pulled here. There's the AOC harassment claim. That's from this year. Wonderful. He basically just said AOC wants to sleep with Miller. Clearly not true. There's the Amanda Turkle ambush accident. Yeah, if you missed this one, once upon a time, journalists basically said Waters aggressively confronted her, later describing the experience as harassment and sort of stalking-like. Lovely. On top of that, he's got a penchant for misinformation, backtracking, having to apologize because he said lies. There was climate misinformation. He repeated a debunked claim that climate scientists are manipulating temperature data. Not true. He had to backtrack after talking about Gavin Newsom, falsely claiming that Newsom lied about a phone call with Trump, later admitting that the assertion was incorrect. He had to apologize after joking on air about bombing or gassing the United Nations. International backlash triggered from that bad boy. Got a pattern, too, misleading the framing. Media analysts have repeatedly criticized Waters for exaggerating or distorting facts in partisan segments, no surprise, without formal corrections. And, even better still, internal Fox backlash, like his remarks have drawn criticism even within Fox News, not necessarily all resulting in retractions. So yeah, the grossest Fox News guy ever loves the guy destroying America. Well, color me surprised. In our next little bit here, let's talk about the clip. And you've seen this clip. I know you saw it. Trump basically pauses in the middle of a conversation, stares out the door of his imaginary ballroom, and just drifts off into dementia land. And immediately, right, the internet did what the internet does, made clips, made edits, tons of commentary, amazing speculation, armchair diagnoses, we love those. Let me be very clear, I'm not diagnosing anything. That's definitely not my job. It's not RFK Jr.'s job either, let's be clear. But when the most powerful guy on earth starts generating concerns from doctors and journalists and millions of regular people all at the same time, not because it's funny, not because it's very memeable, as everything he does is, but because the leadership matters, y'all, okay? Cognitive clarity matters. Emotional stability matters. Consistency matters in leadership. Come on. And what's strange is how uneven our standards are, right? We'll dissect every micro expression of a protester, like that gal who just got arrested for talking to the camera. We'll scrutinize every word of the teenage activist. Oh yeah, but the president spacing out mid-meeting is just fine. It's not transparency, that's denial. And for fuck's sake, if Biden did any of this, oh my God, MAGA would be rioting. They literally spent so much time screaming and shouting about Biden's failing health and rabble. Oh gosh. Okay, let's bring it all together, right? Because here's where people mess up a little bit. This is where people start to treat stories as separate. Shooting here, comment there, weird clip somewhere else. They're not separate. They're all part of the same deal. When power becomes unaccountable, it tends to get louder. When that power becomes unaccountable, it gets angrier. It stops explaining itself. And then instead of clarity, we get spectacle. Okay, big guns in Minnesota. Instead of answers, we get what they say is the truth. And then instead of responsibility, we end up with branding. And it's dangerous, okay, because when people can't tell what's real anymore, they disengage. And when people disengage, power doesn't need consent anymore. And somehow we still have not had a flashpoint moment. I don't understand. We still haven't had enough anger to pull people into the streets. It's going to take sustained, serious protest, waves of protests. We need to let the fascist clowns know. We're not going to tolerate it. Not going to tolerate ICE, any of this nonsense. Let's continue a little bit of a rapid fire round for you because unfortunately there was more. So the protests are spreading nationwide outside of just Minnesota over the Minnesota shootings. Federal prosecutors reportedly resigned in protest over how the investigation in Minnesota is being handled. States are threatening lawsuits over immigration enforcement. Outstanding. Climate scientists, you thought I missed this? Climate scientists confirmed 2025 was one of the hottest years on record. And not like America's so hot right now, like on fire. Protests in Iran continue to escalate. That situation is awful. Pay attention. And somehow, while all of this is happening, we're arguing about ballroom aesthetics. What a time to be alive. Ladies and gentlemen, if this week felt overwhelming, it is not an accident. Overwhelm is the new feature. When too much happens all at once, people stop asking questions. They just try to survive. And I'm definitely in survival mode. You are not crazy. You're not crazy for feeling like something is wrong. You're not dramatic for noticing patterns. And you're not too online for paying attention. Because what's happening right now is not chaos. It's revelation. Systems don't break quietly. They reveal themselves loudly, and that's what this week was. This has been this week so far. I'm going to be off for a week. I'll see you the last week of January. Stay safe. Stay strong. Stronger together.